Good morning. Let's begin. Kumlan and Ablat Gemara. We are up to Daf Chav Daled Amid Aleph. We are in the middle of having a discussion, the concept of Nidrei Zeruzin, a neder which I made basically only to, to inspire you or to motivate you to do something, and I didn't really mean that neder. Blessed Yaakov added even not just the case of hagglers, but he also said it in a case where somebody invited somebody else, and he said that if you don't bother coming to my house, then I don't have anything to do with you, and he didn't actually mean it. He just was trying to prompt you to join him. Now we want to know whether everyone agrees to that, and if they do, is the halacha of Blessed Yaakov or like the Chacham. So we brought a number of cases where it seems like there's an argument, and we've concluded that Blessed Yaakov, these Gemara right now, is saying Blessed Yaakov was made in those cases where I have a valid reason explaining why I made the neder. It wasn't just to prompt you. I don't want to be treated like a dog that everything is just one-sided, or like a king that I give and I don't receive, or like a dog that receives and doesn't give. Then it sounds like it's a proper neder. It wasn't just to prompt you to do something for me, but actually I meant it, and therefore I have to be matter neder. So up to the bottom of the page, towards the bottom of the page. Omar lay mark about 13 or 14 lines at the bottom of the page. Omar lay mark Shisha Braid Rav Chiza Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi had Rav Chiza had two sons, Mark Shisha Mazutra. Shisha literally means old, and Sutra means young. Interesting names that they had. Bachlekes, Tosis, and Barbas of Zion Base. So who is the older one and who's the younger one? The Pashas Mark Shisha is the older one, and Mazutra is the younger one. But it Tosis brings maybe the other way around. It's talking about referring to Rav Chiza. That like by his father, and they call the kids after their father's name. So junior and senior, same thing here. So Mark Shisha, the son of Chizdas, spoke to Rav Ashi. A little bit hard to understand how that actually happened, because Rav Ashi was born after the day Rava passed away. Rav Chizda was much older than Rava. Was in fact he was the father-in-law of Rava in a way for a time, and. Okay, anyway, unless Mark Shisha was very, very old, and Rav Ashi was very, very young at the time. And he said to him as follows: Toshma, come in here. Nidrei Einzin. Says in the branch as follows: what is Einzin? Idiroi Chaveiroi Sheyechel Etzloi. Us later on, we're going to learn in the as we go through the different kind of Nedarim, the 4 Nedarim we learn. So the next mission, when we talk about the Nedarim of Einzin, it says, it gives an example. What's a neder of an Einzin? And we say that's not a neder at all. I made a neder that you have to eat by me. Okay, and then I said, if you don't eat by me, then all my assets are forbidden to you, or whatever. The person didn't come, not because he didn't want to come, it wasn't possible. Some accident occurred. It got sick, son got sick, the river prevents him from coming. Then there's no neder here, because this is not what he intended. I meant that if you can come, I want you to come. If you can't come, of course, I didn't mean to ask anything. Seems like holav hachi, had it not been for the fact that something inadvertently occurred that he couldn't avoid, then neder. It would have been neder. But I mean, the only reason why I made the neder is to motivate you to come to my house. And you said that Blessed Yaakov said, if I make a neder to prompt you to come to my house, it's not a neder. So who cares? What do you need that? What do you need that additional excuse for? If this the author of this mission is Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, it is Zeruzin. Nadaran did say before that if you make a neder zeruzin, but you say I mean it, then taka becomes a full-time neder. So that Rav Kiva asked, so why can't you just answer that it's true, but I mean it? He said I need it and I mean it, and still it's not a neder because of cholohu or cholohi. But it seems all the missions are not talking about a case where you say I mean it. Where the whole Gemara is talking about stam, that you don't add the words that I mean it and I want my words to stand. So therefore, we're trying to say, Nachmet, maybe if you say I mean everything else and an accident happened, maybe things would be different, because if he's so, concerning and he's so particular, maybe I don't care what the excuse is.
You want the result.
Yeah. So it can't be Rabbi Yaakov. And Peligi, and they're arguing, so there is a machlekes, no? Perhaps Rabbi Yaakov. But you got it all wrong. You got the whole story wrong. Why you thought there's Reuben and Shimon. Reuben invited Shimon to his house, and then Reuben made a neder that if you don't come attend to my house, I don't want you to have anything to do with my assets. I don't have anything to do with you. And therefore, we said that's called a neder zeruzin, because he's trying to prompt Shimon to come to my house. I want Shimon to realize I really mean it. I want him to come, and that's I'm saying it in the world tonight. So that's how you learn pshat. Me savred the adre mezamna l'zmina. You think it was Reuben the host who invited the invitee? It was the other way around. No, there's mina adre mezamna. Shimon, the guest, turned to Reuven, the host, and he said, "You want to invite me to your meal?" Yeah. So Reuven, the host, said, "Yeah, I'm happy to have you at my house." And then he says to Shimon, to Reuven, "You're going to make a neder out of it." So Shimon prompted Reuven to make the neder and to go through all those motions. What motivation neder is there? Motivation neder is or neder to prompt someone to do something is only if the host is the one who initiated the whole conversation. Here it was the guest who initiated the conversation. So therefore, that's why over there you need an accent. Otherwise, this is not needed losing because when the host was sort of in a way cajoled to making this neder, he actually meant it. Toshma coming here. Yes, okay. Furthermore, this is a nice Omar Yaakov, similar to our Mishnah, but he adds a little bit. Rabbi Yaakov said, "The guy's his friend. Coin name. I'm going to ask food on me like a carbon. Coin from the word carbon. I'm going to ask food on me like a carbon. So it's much further. Shani that I'm not going to that I'm going to have any hanaf to you. I'm going to allow you to have any hanaf from me. I'm going to ask all my things like a carbon. You shouldn't have any hanaf from it. If you don't come to me and misarech. This is much stronger than our Mishnah. He just says, he said, I want you to come eat by me. And the Teichel, and he spells it out. Paschama, v'tishtimi, chamin, a glazel tea, whatever, hot bread. The guy said, not. Even though you spelled out exactly what you mean, the other one got angry. Nevertheless, even though the conversation sounds pretty serious because he went into specifics, he delineated exactly what he wants. Another guy responded in a way where he objected to it. It's still nidr, and they don't really mean a ned that he just wants to really show him that he means it. Clearly in the Brayso, the Chacham argue. Now, are they only arguing in this particular case because they're saying, hey, this is way too far. This is not a nidr zruzah. This is a real neder. Isn't it? The afilu b'kraisa. They're arguing not just in this very specific case, but even the case in our Mishnah. Ushmamina plead about Allah. Shmamina is that either about argue in all cases. Shmamina. Chlik is a shaynim. So how do we understand the case on the top of the page where the Gemara and each one said Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov was made? Elazar Yaakov made it because when he made the neder there, it's only one way. He said, I don't want to. He gave me a very large gift. I don't want to be like a dog that just takes and doesn't give back, or I don't want to be like a king that gives out and doesn't take back in. Remember, he said, if you don't give to my son, what happens there now in the conclusion of the Gemara? Rabbi Elazar Yaakov still made in those cases where it looks like a real neder because he's not saying it. I don't want to come to the house. He's saying I don't want to be one way. Or now that we've given this answer, that there is that all those answers are only given in order to avoid saying there's another argument, another opinion. Now that we've proven that there's a chacham that there argues, maybe Rabbi Yaakov personally would agree and say that in all cases it's called nidus ruzin, just to motivate somebody to come and do something, and therefore it's not right. My habi law. So who's the halacha like Tashmak Kamnei? Rabuna halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Mishnah. Okay, so now we discuss nidus. Now we need to haboy. Nidus haboy are machlekes. I mean, some of the haboy say it means empty. It's meaningless, and others say it means exaggeration. An exaggeration which is not possible. Omar, he said, Koinim, I'm going to ask her all the food like a carbon. If I didn't see Bederech Hazeh, if I didn't see in this particular road, the number of people like those who left Mitzrayim, 600,000 people. Even though a lot more than 600,000 people, Teish Erbin already says, whenever we say Olam Mitzrayim, the only definitive number that we have is 600,000. Interesting, but the Torah always says 603,000. We never have 600. So we just round it off, but we round it down, not up. So, what do you call it? If I didn't see that number of people, then this bread is also to me. Now, there's no way that he saw that number of people. That's an exaggeration. And he just meant to say, sorry? So we're saying by shvuah, we're saying it's not a shvuah shav at all. We're saying we know what he meant. He never meant taka 600 people. People are trying to emphasize a point. When they exaggerate, they want to emphasize a point. They say, oh, they pick some sheer crazy number, but they're trying to say, and we know what he's trying to say. Nobody for a minute thinks that he means there were 600,000 people there. We think he means a lot of people there. So therefore, it's not an eder. His food is not us to him because he meant a lot of people there. That's number one. Number two is im loidi itzi nochash. If I didn't see a snake, kikoiras beis habad. If I didn't see a snake like the beam that you place on an olive press. Now, what exactly is that mean? Big machlekes is training later on the Gemara. The Gemara uses the word of the taruf. What exactly does taruf mean? The Shalmi says taruf means a square. I saw a snake, looks like a square. Others say taruf means polka dot. Rashi says, Rashi Ben Geshem says polka dot. Interesting. Rashi passed away in middle three Masechtas. He's looking at the time. We have Nedarim said a few days ago. Still here's Rashi, even though we don't think it's Rashi. Then we have a Makis, and then we have a Babasa. We're running three Masechtas in one go. And we'll say three different Masechtas because the Dorim has nothing to do with Makis. Baba Kam, you can say about the Zikin. But how does the Dorim come? That's how you're supposed to learn. You shouldn't just learn one Masechta at a time. You learn a few, get a broader picture. Others say it says polka dotted. Others say Torah means like ridges, and the entire snake had ridges in it, like a koila beis abad. Because as Taisa says, where does a koila beis abad have polka dots? Okay, the three opinions. Whatever it is, the Ran comes along and says this is not an exaggeration. This is a lie. And it's not, even though the Mishnah bunches together the two cases, the two separate cases. The first one is Lashon Guzma, and Lashon Guzma therefore is not a neder at all. And you meant exactly what you we know what you meant, and the which is there's a lot of people, so therefore of course you can eat food because you're not lying. But the other one is a lie, and because the other one is a lie, therefore it's considered a shvur shav. It will be a shvur. And by neder we don't have a concept of neder shav unless he swore belakei yisrael. Okay. Says the Gemara. Now there's two versions of this Gemara. We'll learn the version of the Gemara which is now. Then we learned nidre haboy. If somebody makes a neder which is exaggeration, mutarin, we don't take him literally. We say that we know exactly what he means. Shavu is haboy, but what about if it's a shavua of haboy? There, absolutely, that's our version. There it's us. Why should shavua be different than neder? It's the same thing. You're a megazim. A shvua is much stricter than a neder. Plus, if you use Hashem's name, therefore we don't want you to do that. You invoke Hashem's name, and therefore b'shvus haboy it is usher. That means that you have to treat. You have to other learn to make shvus shav. However, the Ran's version is shvus haboy mutarin. They're both mutar. Why should be one different than the next? It's exaggerated. You know what you meant, so you didn't say anything wrong. Hey, chidam shvus haboy. What's a shvus haboy? He makes shvu. I swear. If I didn't see on the shoulders of people, made them. So he just notifying us. But what's he swearing? Swearing by a neder is that this bread should be usher to me like a carbon if I didn't do this. If I just say the words, I swear this is what I saw. So what happened? So not that he the lashon is shvua if I didn't see. I swear if I didn't see. Swear what? Abai says no. He's saying I'm swearing that I did see. I'm swearing that I did see. So therefore, if it turned out to be it didn't see, it's a shvur shav. That's the problem. First of all, this is a normal case of making a shvur which is not correct, and of course you chayv. The way we'll learn August. Well, do me the neder ton. It's totally different neder. By neder, I'm answering this if I didn't see this. Here, I'm making a shvur that this is what I saw. What's the correlation between that and neder? Elam. But Omer, you said, Yesru Pedus ha'olam alai b'shvua. I swear that all the fruits, I'm making my shvua contingent, that all the fruits should be forbidden to me in the form of a shvua if I didn't see ka'elim mitzrayim. I didn't see. So shvua is very similar to neder. You're making something usher if this is not what happened. And so by neder we say it's nothing. By shvua, even though we know what you mean, but because he used the expression of shvua, we cannot tolerate it and we cannot let you go with it because shvua is much stricter than a neder. We don't want people to get in the habit of making shvuas. Maybe in his mind, when he said in his mind, or when he said, I saw so many people ka'elim mitzrayim, you think he means people. All he said was ka'elim mitzrayim. You think he's talking about people. Maybe he's talking about ants that he saw crawling on the ground. Thousands of ants. So maybe when a person makes a shvua, it's in his mind what he has to be people shoving. Very important what your intention is. So maybe by a shvua we're talking about where in his mind he meant something else. We thought he's talking about people, but he in his mind is thinking about ants, and therefore it's good enough. So the Gemara Dilma, Rabbi said, Rashi, maybe high gavra kinadim shimshon nechaza. He saw a nest full of little worms, and he decided to confer upon them the name Oile Mitzrayim. When he said, I saw like the like Oile Mitzrayim, he was referring to these worms or these ants. He saw all these ants, and that's what he's talking about. And maybe Taki saw it. 1,000. Who's going to go count the ants? There are thousands. On Malay, so Rashi answered back a rule. Ki mishtabe, when a person swears in front of a peasant, when a person swears to people, ashtabe adaito didam mishtabe. When he swears to us and we're asking for a shur something, he's swearing as far as what we understand. He can't say I had this and this in mind. It's irrelevant. It's what we understand. Why in the world would we think that he's talking about ants? Says the Gemara. And if he comes along, gives us the whole story, concocts the story, we won't believe him. Because when you swear, you're swearing to us. And in a way, even though we learned before, if a guy says chayim, if a guy says korban, he meant korban shemalachim, he has the right to interpret. But over there, it's 50-50. It could be both. Here, it's nonsensical. Nobody talks this way. Says the Gemara, that's how. Are you telling me that there's no such thing as people when they swear they have their own thoughts in mind and they make up names and then make a shvur and they say that's what I meant? Well, Tanya, I'll prove it to you. You're wrong. It says in the Gemara's shvuas, when the Bezdin makes a swear, we say, look, you have to swear, and we tell him, have the Yadea, you should know. We are not making you swear. We're not swearing in what conditions you have in your own head. We're making you swear. We're making you swear on what we think. Now that Tainu Das Bezin doesn't make sense. That Tainu and Das Bezin the same thing. So on the side it says the Gishbi Das Hamokim Das Bezin. That we're making you swear what the Eibishter wants you to swear. Let's say the mixes. This is what the Eibishter wants, and that's what you say. Don't tell us that you meant something else completely. Lafukimai. What are we trying to negate? What possibility? Why do we have to warn this person when you're swearing the way we're demanding this kind of a shua, and when you're going to swear, you're referring to this very shua. What are we talking about? My love, la fuke, to negate the following possibility. The astigluhu he'll take little pieces of wood, we'll have a little piece of wood there, and he'll say these little pieces of wood, I'm going to call them money. I'm going to call them dollars. I'm going to call them zuzi. And Rashi said these are little pieces of wood that they used to play with, like chess or something, to play games with it. And I'm going to call that zuzi. And then when he's going to swear that I don't owe you, whatever it is, money, he's talking about these pieces of wood because that's what he called money. But we're listening. What do we hear? He's saying he doesn't owe anyone money. So we're telling him, no, don't make some chachmas. When you're going to swear money, you're talking about the money that we consider money. Not what you decide you're going to call zuzi. And because we have to warn him and say, you make sure you swear the way we understand, it was common, or it's possible, that really it's legal for a person to make a shvua, and if we wouldn't have made that condition, it would be perfectly all right. It wouldn't be a fake shvua, a false shvua. It would be perfectly all right that he's standing there making a shvua, I don't owe you any zuzim, and in his mind, what he meant was, I don't owe you any of these pieces of wood. We think he means that he doesn't owe any money. We'll accept the shvua. Turns out to be later it's a lie. It doesn't matter. He didn't lie. But that's why we have to give him this warning. That's what it seems. Saying, well, no, La Fouke comes to no. If a person makes up these preposterous words and everything else, that's not acceptable at all. When you swear the way we thought. But the following story, a fascinating.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
The problem with this whole svara of kimishtaba daita didan mishtaba is most of these shvuas that we've learned about until now, they're made in the heat of passion. A person got excited about something, he made a shvua on the spot. And why do we have this assumption that he's standing in front of Beis Din making a shvua? This guy's he's at a party with his friends.
No, we're talking about a general thing. Let's say a guy made a shvua and it was the Abish's name, and he's warned, and it turned out to be a lie. He gets malchus for shvua shab. But he'll say, one second, he says, you heard one thing, but I'm telling you what I said. I know what I said because I thought this, and this.
I meant something
Can a
else.
person say when he makes a shua that I decided to nickname all of these? You heard words, but it's a code for something totally different. Can the person say that? So we'll bring a raya from Gemara Shavuos about a bezdin. The concept, the fact that we had to warn this person when you're going to swear, you're swearing on terms. We're going to make like a glossary. We're going to make a glossary. We're going to define. In fact, look at every contract. Every contract has all the words defined for that very reason. Don't come and tell us you meant that. You meant that. No. We're laying out. These are the standards, acceptable definitions of all of these terms. Same thing here. Okay. That's what we're saying. No. A person cannot come up along and make up their own words, their own glossary. So what are we coming to negate over here? The following case, where it wasn't a lie, he just tricked us. And this is the story. Interesting story. Okay, it comes to exclude the following story. What happened was, Mekanya, the Rav, the case of the stick of Rav, who gave us a person of a massive. Let's say Reuben lent Shimon $100. Also, the Kami the Rav, they came before Rav. So the Malva said to the Leiva, Reuben said to Shimon, you owe me $100, pay me. Amalei Praticha. Shimon said, I paid you back. Amalei Rava said, Imkel, if so, Zilish Tabale de Paraita. We have Shua's Hesses or Nachman, where Reuben is demanding a Shua. So Rava says to Shimon, swear to Reuben they don't owe him anything. Ozli went, Kanya. So he said, give me time. He brought a stick. The Yov Zuzagav, it's like a walking stick that he put in. It was a hollow walking stick. He hollowed it out, and he put all the money inside the stick. $100 that he owed, he put into the coin. He put inside the stick. And he walks in. He's leaning on the stick. So Rabbi Paskin, this is what you're going to have to do. She said, okay, I'll go to Bezin on a Monday or Thursday, and we'll do it. He walks into Bezin with this stick over there, with this walking stick, let's say, that was hollowed out, and inside there was buried all the coins. Look, I'm going to make a shua. Maybe he held a Sefer Torah, and maybe he didn't hold a Sefer Torah. Big Machlek is a training before a few days ago. I can tell you, when you hold a Sefer Torah, does that elevate the shua to like saying Hashem's name and therefore all those terrible things? Or the idea of a Sefer Torah is purely to instill some more fear into you, and you should take it more seriously, but it doesn't elevate the standard of at all. So maybe he gave us a Torah or whatever it is, or even if he didn't, he said, look, I want to stand him straight. I can't. Can you hold my stick for me? So he gave Reuben the stick with the money. The Kohen Hakanya b'yadach. Not got Sefer Torah. He took, according to this version, he took a Sefer Torah. The Ishtaba, and he swore the Potter. He swore that he paid the money to Reuben, and it wasn't a lie because Reuben had the money in his hand. B'shas ma'aser. I promise you, I gave all the money I had to Reuben. That's what he said. Reuben was so angry because Reuben knew the guy's lying. But he took the stick, he started banging it, and broke the stick. And suddenly, the money went flying everywhere on the ground. The comes out, the kush the ishtaba. He said the truth. So that's why. So in other words, he didn't make up a shvua, made up new glossary. Everything was correct. He just outsmarted the rabbanim. So therefore, the rabbanim learned the lesson. From now on, they say, when you make your shvua, it's what we think. We don't know that there's money hiding in the stick. So when you tell us that you don't owe any money, as far as we're concerned, that means you're telling you don't owe us any money at all, and not because you gave them the money right now. Hold a second. Okay, so that's so therefore right now the Gemara is under the assumption that people do not have their own glossary, they don't have their own words. So if he says, I'm making that this bread is us to me, if I didn't see it was exaggeration. He didn't mean it at all. But by a shvua, whether you meant it or not, it doesn't matter. By shvua, you have to abide by it because shvua it's awesome. Even though Ravina asked, maybe even by shvua, you shouldn't have to buy. Maybe he's telling the truth because he's talking about ants. We don't accept that he's talking about ants because when a person swears, adatenu. He's swearing. Adaita didon, not adaita denafshe.